Good evening. I'm Christopher Del Gaudio, and I'd like to welcome you to a special edition of Talking About. There was once a quote from the legendary composer Richard Rodgers, and he stated that the mounting of a theatrical production was the single most collaborative effort short of waging a war. Well, that statement could just as easily apply to the creation and management of a theater company. And with us today is a distinguished panel who could tell you just a little bit more about that. They're the members of the Huntington Village Theater Company of Huntington, Long Island, and we are going to hear about their inception up to their present-day status. I'd like to welcome you all. Thank you for joining us today.
Pleasure to be here.
And we think it proper that we would begin with the very lovely founder and producer of HVTC, as it is also known, Miss Shirley Harrison Brown. Thank
Chris,
you.
I want to tell you how wonderful it is that you talk about Richard Rodgers, because it immediately told me just where I was going to go. I was fortunate enough to know a gentleman by the name of Mark Connolly. He's up there somewhere, and I know he's watching us right now. But he gave me the beginnings of what was forever and ever and ever to be my love of the theater. That was at Yale University. And he said I had something called the tragic comedy look of a Shakespearean actress. I think I've always walked a little bit above the ground because of that. And I'm so glad that I've lived this long to be able to say that I could begin to see in about, 1992, when I sold a business that I had in Huntington, and I said, what am I going to do? And then the theater. Oh, glory days. I'm so happy it happened to me. And this brings me to you, baby. And it brings me right here.
Well, we're very happy it happened to you, because as a result of it happening to you, it happened to a lot of other people as well.
Oh, wonderful people.
And that's the wonderful part of a theater, when it's able to pollinate and touch so many people's lives.
I've been fortunate. I really mean it. God's been good to me. May I just read you our mission statement?
Absolutely.
It'll be a heck of a lot easier to read it than to say it.
Absolutely.
You know how I am about lines. This is my I'll tell you more about that. But we promised we'd be nice kids today, weren't we, Howard? Okay. This is the Huntington Village Theater Company mission statement. We didn't have to really think too much about it. As you can see the front of it, it bears witness to the fact that we are the art of living theater. It's a people, it's a community, it's a life, it's a heart, it's a spirit, lot of
For
spirit.
those who may not know the term living theater, could you describe that?
Right, that's a wonderful thing. I just assume that even those who do filming, independent filming, and look how much there is of that and happening in Long Island now, and Hollywood, New York, Astoria, every place.
Flushing.
There is Flushing. What is, does that date me, Astoria?
No,
Flushing. That's where we are. Hello, Flushing. Who's Flushing? Flushing.
We're all
Of course, we're all Flushing. But really, to be right on the ball about this, live, the art of living theater. This gentleman and I sat and thought about what would go under our logo. The art of living theater is the right word, because it is living. It is theater. It is the most up-to-the-minute thing that can happen to you, and yet there's so much support in the theater. Front of the stage, the audience, very, very important.
Of course.
And the more the audience is subjected to us on the stage and behind the stage, the more they find that they are a part of the living theater, because they are living the lives that we are doing, changing each day like chameleons. You know, nobody can say they're bored with the theater. Never, never. So test your mettle and join us in the theater. Huntington Village Theater Company serves the Huntington community, and we don't serve just, that's a negative, because it really isn't just the Huntington community. We are now traveling, and we're doing many benefits. So I will say, through performances of live theater, neighborhood outreach programs, multi-generational and multicultural theater workshops. You'll hear from all of those. The company is committed to the belief that theater arts offer a unique and dynamic opportunity for those on both sides of the stage to focus on important social themes and to unite our community through an array of collaborative experiences that only live theater invites us to explore. Bless you all, and now I will introduce you to my children. So there.
Well, the first child that we'd like to introduce tonight is our artistic director of HVTC, Mr. Howard Beckerman. Now, we know that new plays, being a writer myself, I know the value of new plays, as well as doing a lot of very well-known musical and literary material. You are very committed to developing new playwrights and new works at HVTC. If you can tell us a little bit more about that and how you figure into that.
Yes, sure. You know, as of course, you know, it's obvious upon listening to Shirley Harris Brown speak. Shirley's been an inspiration to everyone sitting on this stage, and all of us have background in theater and have found ourselves drawn to the Queen Bee who sits here, and there is a, you know, there's an energy that has been surrounding all of us, you know, from the moment that we've gotten together with Shirley, and Shirley's talent, and I think everyone here will agree, and you know, pipe in, please do, is that because of her energy of love and theatrical inclinations and know-how, she is able to draw us all out into our own individual, let's say, our own individual preferences and powers. Yes,
Talents.
And talents. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, this group, you know, which is an ever-evolving group, is one that, you know, spans the whole spectrum of what theater could mean, and you know, including our desire to serve all levels of theatrical interest. For example, we are very much a community-based organization, meaning that Shirley has always felt that she wants anyone who would like to work in theater to have the opportunity to do so. That means that we have amateurs who are involved in our work, as well as people who have more professionally experienced. And we are kind of an open arm umbrella to serve all of those needs. Now, as you referred to before, we were talking about new plays. We want to be able to present to the community on Long Island works that are familiar, works that are part of the standard repertory, both drama and musical, and we'll talk about that more because we're just kind of beefing up our musical repertoire and power, right. And in addition to that, though, we feel that there's a strong need on Long Island, particularly, for an opportunity for the development of new works by new playwrights, and also to give an opportunity to local talent to explore these kinds of projects. And that's one of the things that is a very strong emphasis that we're placing these days on what we do at the Huntington Village Theater Company.
It's very exciting for any new playwright to hear that, because there are so few forums for a writer to go to have his work performed, as I well can tell you. But in using, say, in collaborating and everybody putting together all their unique talents, let me ask David Garner, as an actor and a director, having proficiency in both those areas, how does one toe the line between those two extremities? And I know the importance in a theater of wearing many hats and really having to know how to do a great variety of things. How does one dedicate himself to each of those things without losing his way, so to speak?
Oh, I lose my way all the time. Howard will attest to this. I actually find it easier to direct than act. Oftentimes when you're acting, you see different things that are going on. And as a director, you see it from an entirely different perspective, obviously. And as a director, I see myself as the first audience, and I want to see things a certain way. And I feel like if I can get a particular play to a level that I'm responding to it, that the audience will as well. I wanted to sort of build off of something that Shirley and Howard said about live theater. I think one of the things that live theater or living theater offers people is a more direct experience. Oftentimes you can see something on television or film that is quite good, but then it immediately cuts to a cute commercial that's very upbeat, and you know the clash is very jarring.
Changes the momentum.
Yeah,
the
and the
pacing.
sensibility
Yeah.
of the piece, and you don't get to savor the moment at all. And I think that's one of the things that live theater, living theater, offers people that we miss. It's something that I've gotten a lot of satisfaction out of in working with this group, and that I've expanded on, I think, personally. When I'm acting, it's sometimes hard to let go of wanting to sort of see how I would like to direct it, and how we're going to test it. I've had to like try to bite my tongue, but it's hard. But I really appreciate the view of a director more so now that I've directed, because I realize the challenges that you have sitting on this side and waiting for someone to sort of move you or give you some sort of direction, and then sitting on the other side and looking at these people who are wanting that direction. And I find it quite easy to direct because sitting on this side, I know what I was looking for.
Were you first an actor?
Yes.
Okay. So basically, I know myself included, a lot of the time when you are directing, I think it's natural that you think of all the things that you wanted a previous director to do for you and with you, and to take that into your own productions and help apply that to other actors. And I know I found that for myself.
Most of the time I find that the people that have been cast in a particular play, and I find that's where almost 90% of the work comes, as I see it, because if you can get sort of, I look at it as a palette, and you know, all colors have equal value, but when you're trying to compose a particular painting, as it were, certain colors are going to be used, certain colors are not going to be used. It doesn't necessarily mean that the actor or actress is not necessarily good, it just doesn't fit with that particular painting. So I try to look at what I'm trying to achieve, and I try to match that sort of elements in terms of what I'm trying to compose. And then I find that the actors and actresses, for the most part, are like sponges. They soak up whatever you give back to them. And I found it extremely easy in some respects. So I rather enjoy that. And I've also gotten a lot from being an actor and listening to the directors give different input,
Of course.
and things that I wouldn't think of or see. So it's been very beneficial and rewarding on both sides.
All right. One of the things that's so exciting with our company is that we change hats all the time, and you know, the people who are sitting here, you know, have been directors and actors, and it's challenging personally and professionally, and also very exciting to, you know, to be somebody different and play these different roles.
Sure.
And of course, all of these roles are what make the theater so exciting.
And it's understanding one another's ingredients, contributing to that one main entree. And it can change many different times. Mike Romanelli, also, you're an actor and a director as well with HBTC.
Yes, I've worn several hats in my day.
Tell us about some of those hats now from your perspective.
Well, I have to agree with David that there's every feeling that the acting that you do, the directing that you do, they help each other, and they make you better at whatever it is you're not doing at that moment. I know as a director, I guess I'm more comfortable as a director because I'm a little bit of a control freak. I like to be able to be ultimately responsible for everything that happens on the stage, but of course still allowing the actors, and this is one of the things you learn as an actor about the directing, not to step on an actor, not to prevent them from giving them free rein within their domain on the stage, within the character.
And within the confines of the vision that you've established for them.
Exactly. And Meisner is actually someone whose work stands out in my mind, saying that acting is living truthfully in imaginary situations and actually living the reality of that character in the imaginary situation of the set and on the stage. But that is really the goal. That's what actors and directors are both trying to get from their work. Is that truth?
Sure.
And it's so precious. It's so hard to come by.
It's a love affair, honey. It's an absolute love affair. And the wonderful part of live theater is that, you know, boo-boos galore, but we cover them up. You never know it unless you're reading the
Or
script.
we utilize them.
Or we, yes, make
Because they can be empowered.
Yeah.
Yes, and no cutting of films, and no on the floor of this. It's on the ground, baby, just the way you're getting it.
One
Yes,
thing
indeed.
I will say to a cast just before the night of a production, which actually a director said to me in a production that I was in, and I kind of stole and made that my own. There's a lot of that goes on. Is that, you know what, tonight you have the opportunity to live the life of the characters that you are playing. And you are the only one who's capable of breathing that life into the character. So make of it what you will, because this is your opportunity to live.
Absolutely.
And that inspired me so that I had to...
The director can be guide.
Exactly.
The director can steer them, but when that curtain goes up or those television cameras go on, it's you and the audience. And it's a process of just getting the people to that level where they'll be free enough to express. Do you find, as for your approach, or either of the three of you, Howard, David, and Michael, do you tend to work with the actors' personal qualities in having them bring themselves to the character or the character to themselves? Do you have a specific technique that you employ, or a combination of the two?
I would say I always start with the text. The text is your framework.
Playing what the author wrote.
Exactly, what the author wrote. Because from that, you glean and extrapolate all the relevant information about the character in terms of what is their background, where did they come from. And I think it's very important to work with the actor in flushing out those realities, those truths that are already there in the lines and in between the lines.
Okay.
And then, of course, the actor has to bring to bear to that reality of the character all his talents and all his abilities to make it come to life.
So it's a combination.
Part of that, I think, is when you read a particular play, you'll often find in the other characters' lines clues about your character.
Yes.
Not necessarily just what are in your lines, it's how they're responding to what they're saying, how they react to you in certain situations, that you begin to get ideas about what this person is like. And then part of it, is somewhat magic. It just, when it all is there and then it's out on stage, things happen. Part of the tension of opening night, or the curtain goes up and now you can't go line. So you have to stay in character, and that adds a certain element to it as well.
Well, you can go line, but we frown upon it.
People have.
Yes, we've got it back there.
But in having a repertory company, everybody has the opportunity over time to get to know one another personally, and I think that facilitates an approach to a part, because I know as a playwright I can actually incorporate a lot of people's own personalities and possibly their hang-ups and their preferences into a role, and bring their own selves to the parts. And that's an advantage of having a repertory company as well. Now, Shirley, I know you had mentioned, and Howard, working with the professionals as well as amateurs. Teresa Bowles, now, in terms of incorporating the two extremes together with adult workshops that you are planning to start, what kind of approach would you take to combining, say, a person who's rarely acted or has never acted with someone who's very traversed?
Okay, well, I work with the children right now and doing children, and I'm also helping out with the adults, which my mom and Michael are fleshing out with adults, but bringing what they don't know. Acting is bringing life, as it's been reiterated before, to someone else's work, a character that someone else created, that the only person who's ever breathed any life into this person is the writer. And now it's the actor's turn to maybe they usually take their own little spin. They see something else that the author never intended sometimes. And when I work with children and getting them first, sometimes they just love what they've seen on television and the movies, and that's all they really know. How many children go to the theater and get to see something that's living in front of them, that they're having a reaction to? I like to do theater that is alive, and maybe even bring the audience into what we're doing. And with children, it's building on what they have. They have great imagination. Yes. Their imagination, some of the things they come up with, I'm like, wow. How old are you? I mean, they're 5, and they have like ideas that maybe a 10-year-old has, or a 12 or a 30-year-old person, or an 80-year-old person. And taking that and sort of giving them a little bit structure and discipline. Being an actor is such, you have to have such control and really have a good form of discipline and control, because you might not agree with what the director's telling you to do with your character.
No.
And you have your own, and we're all like very strong-headed. I think actors can be extremely strong-headed.
Sure.
And, and maybe a little diva, you know, being little divas. And you might not agree with what the director's saying, or even what the author wrote. Like, oh, I see, it should be this way. So teaching the actor, child, adult, to sort of, sometimes you need to say, okay, let me see where they're going, and trust the director and the writer of the piece to go with where it's going. And sometimes you learn from that. The acting is learning and taking on someone else's life. I mean, there's experiences I've never, experienced it, but through a character, I can experience anything.
That's
Very, very well said.
Yes.
Your mom is seated right next
Yes.
to you, Catherine Bowles, who has also acted and performed with Huntington Village Theater Company. You've also taught the children's workshops as well. From your experiences, how do you find the chemistry in combining adults with the children in different productions? What have you learned from that or observed?
Well, an actor's tool is his body, and we're all the basic models, whether we're young or old. We come with the same equipment, our voices, our bodies, our arms, our movements. So again, we're equals. And I love intergenerational theater because you have adults and children working together, and it gets to the point where you don't look at age. I mean, certainly Shirley is ageless.
Absolutely.
I mean, she's one of the kids. You should see with the children's theater. She'll come in and she's just with the children. And again, it's imagination. Fine, an adult has more experiences, but we're preconceived conceptions. Children are new. It's a blank slate, so to speak. So again, as adults, we can learn from, definitely from the children.
And they have no fear.
Oh no, they have
Absolutely not.
absolutely no fear. And again, it's
They
just,
laugh.
it's so wonderful because there's so many benefits from it. The more mature actors learn from the children that freedom, that vitality that they may have lost through living, through life, and their prejudices. Children have no prejudices. They're free, they're spontaneous, and giving, and very giving. And I think that's what acting's about. And you were talking about directing and how everyone should do round robin. They should also be a stage manager.
Yes,
and
which I have been myself, yes.
definitely respect the craft.
The words.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
As an actress and as a director, you have a vision, and you know what you want. Again, you have to move all these actors across stage. And again, there can be blocks, log jams as I call them.
Sure.
And how are we going to get these bodies, these characters that really don't have a character, so to speak, and they're just standing there like a lump. And what do? And many times, David or other actors will say, oh, well, they could move here, there, because my character could do this, or Teresa might say something, or Michael, my character could move here. And again, the logjam is open. But again, the director has to be willing to listen to his actors sometimes, because the actors are up there living in that space at that time. They know their space. They know their little house.
Yeah, you begin
So-
to trust them for
and
feedback just as much as you see
it's,
it.
but sometimes the ego gets in the way. I mean, definitely, the director has to have
to be the
control,
arbiter.
because you're painting the picture.
Of course.
Now, you may think it looks lovely to sit here like that, but when the other actors are all like this, it doesn't look too good, and the director sees that. So again, if the actors can trust the director, and the workshops help. When Michael was directing One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, he did a lot of theater games in the beginning. You can go into it more with Chris. And it built that trust, that camaraderie. And from that, I saw this is a need for our adult acting classes, to build that trust, that camaraderie. And again, we're all equals. A lot of people need a little skill training. But again, that trust. And I've seen growth with people who have been with us, who didn't even know where to stand, and they've just blossomed.
And it comes to casting as well.
Oh, definitely, that's a big help.
Which Gail Levy, last but not least on our panel,
And
is responsible for, as well as the public relations of Huntington Village Theater Company. And could you tell us a little bit about what's involved in the public relations of a theater?
Well, actually, I think these are the most wonderful people, and I think that doing the public relations for them and casting for them is a wonderful, I'm blessed to do this. Shirley as our goddess, and everybody in this panel who is just, like I said before, we're a family. We are truly a family, and I think that artists on Long Island, actors, actresses, need to be out there. People need to know about us. People need to know that this is probably one of the most creative groups I've ever known. And we just work together because we work from the heart. We work totally from the heart, helping each other. It's a camaraderie. It's just one hand helping the other. And we have fun, and we fight, and we're goofy, but we just work together great. And I'm trying to get them out there casting, doing some casting. We've had independent films come to Huntington, and they've called upon Shirley and the theater company, and we've gone out there and I've cast some of the actors in different parts for extras. And we've actually done 2 films this year, which our local Huntington produces, which is wonderful. Can't wait to see them. And we've also done some casting with, just recently with Channel 55, because they're going to be using more Long Island actors and actresses, which is wonderful. And it's amazing. We talked about the children. These children that we have been working with, and these young adults, are, we recently did a production of My Fair Lady. And when you talk about multi-generational, from 13 years old to 80, and everybody was connected. And it was just the most amazing thing. And working backstage and helping everybody and doing the PR for the production. And just the difference in ages and how we all work together was just amazing. And I'm trying to encourage more children and more young adults to get out there, and they're so bright and so talented. And so I'm going to be doing some casting for them as well.
Shirley, what direction do you feel you'd like to see the theater take, and what are some of your plans for the upcoming year?
Well, the word future, which of course is the business of the future, and it is a business.
Of course.
And the theater is a business, brings to mind the fact of survival, which is a great television show, if you don't mind my saying so. However, I will say that in order to run a successful theater for wonderful people like we have here, and for you too, you know how it must be a future's business.
Always.
And that brings up the subject of don't leave now. Money. Okay? Now, I don't know of anything that goes on in this world without that wonderful exchange. Every country has it, every state has it, every place has it, so that we also have it. And we start out, I've actually learned how to be penurious, because it's my responsibility to make sure that the wheels keep going.
You're driving the car, basically. You're steering
but
the
let
direction.
me tell you, we like to do things right. And in order to do things right, we have become a capital investment company. Therefore, we are buying whatever equipment we need. Instead of renting it, we are trying to pay as much as we can where it allows, and more is necessary to do all these things. So grants become a very, very important part of our existence. And we are not going to be the nice kids on the block that shy away from admitting that we have to be practical.
Yeah.
And we have to wake the public up to the fact that we do a lot of benefits, and we love the idea of doing that. And it helps so many different organizations. But all that requires a background of financial assistance. In our grants, it is necessary that we pick the right kind of causes, and we have found some wonderful ones. We've been the happy and grateful recipients of 3, 4 recent ones. You might think, oh, they're rich, they don't need money. Oh, yes. We are only ambitious, believe me. The magic that took place in My Fair Lady introduced me to all those ages that you spoke about so well. And there was something else besides age difference and sex difference. If that's a difference, I don't know. It doesn't matter. But one of the things that really got to me was that there were children in our lineup of London people, chorus and all. They were challenged children. And so our next grant is going to be for challenged children for our workshops and challenged adults. The door is open. Heart, spirit, love.
Yes.
We all have it to share and to give. I can't say much more because I'm very fortunate to have these people with me, still with me. And that's the future.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dan.
Well, I quoted Richard Rogers last time. I can quote him again, where he was once asked later in his career where he thought the future of the theater was headed. And he had said, when people sit down and sweat over an idea and somehow it clicks, that's the theater's present and future. And I think that could apply to everything
We're
that
clickers.
you're doing.
We're clickers.
We're clickers.
Yeah.
What a lot of the audience actually might be unaware of is, what, speaking of financial, what does it cost for the most part to mount, say, a production of a show like My Fair Lady? What would be an average budget?
You dare not talk about it unless you know that. We won't talk about, don't worry, kids, don't worry. I'm keeping He's not ready yet. He's got his own problems. You would be surprised that before you even begin to talk about anything else, you have to pay, and this is a respectful right
Yes.
for the great writers that put shows like that together.
Absolutely.
So therefore you have to pay for the rights.
Yes.
Now, that's at least 4 figures.
Yes.
Now, we're not talking 1, 2, 3, 4. We're talking 1, 2, 3, 4 with commas.
Yes.
Okay? And periods and dot dots. So just start with that. We've had the costumes handled by professionals. We've had the sound and audio, everything, sound and audio, the same thing. Sound and lights handled by professionals. Everything, all the accoutrements are professionally done because we love our audience. We don't want to tell them that we can do nothing less than the finest show that money will allow. And circumstances such as where we have to show the venues, there are certain areas that don't have quite enough public civic centers. Long Island's a wonderful place. It's a beautiful place, and especially on days like this, you see it mind-boggling.
It happens to be
beautiful.
snowing out. It
Oh, yes,
snowed last
yes,
night.
it's,
And,
otherwise you'd not in bathing suit. At any rate, we are short of civic centers, so some of the venues, there are inhibitions as far as the production size, but that's where good directors and good actors come in. They adjust to that so beautifully. Our future is wonderful. I want the people to really check us out.
Now, how do Gail Levy, in terms of checking out a theater company, since you're active in the public relations end of HVTC, how do you go about inspiring people to check out a theater company? How do you spread the good word?
Well, we have ongoing workshops and productions at Huntington bookstores twice a month. And we do everything from poetry readings to children's theater to guest speakers, as yourself,
Yes.
who came to speak. So we really get a lot of people that come down to just, mosey on in and check us out at the bookstores. Great exposure in Huntington. We are very involved with the Huntington Arts Council, so we recently did Celebrate Huntington, which is a festival that brings in 200, 300,000 people a day, I believe, from all over the city and Long Island. And we actually put a wonderful production on that Michael and Howard put together, and it was just wonderful, an original production. We advertise through the media, through different publications around Long Island, and I'm going to get us involved with more things, more local and more Long Island foundations and groups that are involved in film and TV and theater. And I feel that if we get involved with these organizations, we're going to be very well known because we are such a great group and such a talented group. And Long Island is booming, and production studios are popping up, and TV shows are being filmed there. And like I had said, local and a lot of indie films are being done. Producers are coming to Long Island because it is so beautiful. And with these talented people and the talented people that we have on Long Island, I think we speak for ourselves. We're just,
And we're very excited about this 2001 season coming up because we have a very wide array of projects that are in the works, including both dramatic and musical production that we're going to do at the Toro Law Center, where we're the theater in residence.
Yes.
And so we do main stage productions there. And in addition, we have, as we mentioned, we have received some grants where we will be able to begin a new play development workshop for the Huntington Village Theater Company, and we're particularly excited about that because we'll be soliciting new manuscripts from local writers, Long Island writers, and we'll have an opportunity to present these new works and develop them both in the form of unstaged readings, and then we're going to involve the community in the selection process. Once our plan is to begin with 5 plays, new plays, that we can present to the community and have, through discussion and voting, decide which of these plays we'd like to take a further step. And those plays, we'll select 2 to give a staged performance to, and then finally we'll choose 1 by the end of 2001 to give a full production to. So we're very excited about that new opportunity.
That's very exciting because for the most part, and in having spoken about the theater as a business, it's important to not only do what the other theaters are doing, but to compete in contrast to what they're doing and afford the public something that they may not get to see in other venues. This new plays festival definitely sounds like one of the steps in that direction.
One thing I would add to that is when we say Long Island, we include Brooklyn and Queens as part of that.
5 boroughs.
So, yes. Okay. So
That's right.
It pulls it all in. Some people think of Long Island starting at Nassau and going east, and we can.
We are on the same island.
Yeah. Yeah. So please send your submissions.
That's right.
Okay.
And we'll be advertising and soliciting for new scripts. So we're very excited about that, to have all that come
Bless
in.
you all.
Really, really.
One of the challenges that we have coming in the coming year is there's generally a lot of different people that have moved through the group, and they've gone on to other things and they come back on occasion. There's a lot of behind-the-scenes work that happens, and we've all worn a hat at that juncture as well, but we always look for new people to come in and get involved. And that means, in some cases, it lets them direct or lets them act so that we can go backstage, because that's not necessarily in and of itself a bad thing. We enjoy it. So we always look for attracting new people, and
Very important.
having them involved as well. It's a lot of fun.
Anybody who wants to join the theater, there will be something for them to do.
That's the wonderful part about it. I know, as Kathy, you had mentioned last time about the stage manager. I know I began years ago as a stage manager, and I developed such a respect for that position because it is one of the most unapplauded and unsung jobs within the entire production, but a vital force, because the stage manager, well, let you describe it. What is the stage manager's function to those who may not know?
Well, when the curtain goes up, the director takes his show and puts it in your hands.
That's right.
And it's your show from then on.
Right.
And
The
you are
director is in
authority.
the audience.
Light.
And again, it's so important to just make sure everyone is where they should be. Props are where they ought to be.
And work the way they should be.
Costumes are zipped, buttons snapped. Again, it's
Hats and
we've been
canes
truly
on.
hats and canes, and
Anything can
of
happen.
course some food for them to eat keeps them quiet backstage.
Always.
But when you were talking about money, it's so important. But anyone can be creative with a lot of money. But when you have limited funds,
That's right.
and we had the expertise of Howard's wife, Linda,
Yep.
creating a beautiful set for My Fair Lady, painting
It was so
a
nice.
beautiful set. Also chairs and tables and couches from homes, actors' homes. Oh, and when Shirley comes to visit, that would be
they
a
come through
wonderful
my,
job.
they come through my home.
Again, too, going back to grants and funds, again, another behind-the-scene person, Loretta Mirabella, who's done a wonderful
Absolutely
job on our
fabulous.
grants, because we truly do need the funds for
course.
our productions. Michael, when One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, started a program which we will expand in the future, soliciting ads for our journal. And again, it was the creativity, and it wasn't Shirley saying, you do this, you do that. People coming and saying, oh, I could do this, I could do that. It's bringing such creativity, such energy,
Willing.
such giving willingness. And again, there's no bounds. And Shirley is a very gracious. One of the shows I directed for Shirley, it was carte blanche. She was very good for an actor. That's a wonderful gift.
Of course.
And she was there to oversee it. She said, "I want this, 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 and the other thing," and you check with Shirley. But she was a wonderful producer to work with. And again, it's
Thank you.
yeah. No, I'm not, and I'm
I
not
feel like
just.
the Lady of Largesse.
Thank you. You asked about the future.
Yes.
Well, I
The
will tell
future.
you about the future. When we were in the hall before we came to the studio, Shirley met this gentleman. I don't know who he is, but he is a musician. She has his card, and when we leave the building, I'm sure she will be meeting a few more people.
Oh,
We'll see people
Shirley,
along the
so
way.
that is our future. She is our future. She's wonderful with networking.
Shirley is sort of a collector of lost puppies and souls and gathers them
love
together. There are people that show up all the time at our doorstep because of her. She
We also find ourselves on their doorstep doing things like the Suffolk County Drug and Alcohol, like the LIAC, like the so many benefits that we've done. Weed and
Shirley
Seed
went to
Federal Program.
Washington.
Yeah, that's right. I met Janet Reno when I was in Washington.
Tipper wrote her a
And we
letter.
were
Pen pals?
Oh God. We were chosen as a theater to help with the National Weed and Seed, and I've chaired the National Light Out on August the 1st for developing areas where we have problems with drugs and things like that, using the children, and we're embarked on a wonderful program right now that has to do with another type of art. I'm lucky, I'm fortunate, God's been very good to me. He gave me this opportunity to be where I am right this minute. I come from a long background, a wonderful background, but my future looks great with these people.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Mike Romanelli, now, as far as the future goes with HVTC, where do you feel you would like to contribute and take a direction, having acted and directed?
Well, I'll tell you, one of the projects that we're working on right now, which is I'm tremendously enthusiastic about, is our new Actors Workshop, which we're rolling out a couple of different forms, both adult, beginner, and advanced classes, and children's classes. Now this really ties in on all angles because it's a fee class, because there's a lot of time that goes into it, there's a lot of good stuff and a lot of resources that we're putting into this. It's a source of revenue on one end, but that's not really the main aspect. It's a source of human capital, really, more than financial capital.
Very good.
And we're really thrilled about having a grassroots effort to tie into the community and have a pool of talent, both for on the stage, behind the scenes, in the audience, that we'll be able to expand and ultimately harvest our future generation of talent from.
Well, the Children's Theater Workshop, naturally, is very important because they are the future. We're the present and the future, but they are really the future because it's from our, hopefully, expertise and our know-how that we will impart onto them that they can take into a new direction.
Sure.
Teresa Bowles, you work very actively with the children, as you had told us last time.
Yes, we've been doing children's workshops now, I think, for almost like 3 years, two
It's
to
the
3
fourth year
years.
now.
Oh, it's a
Fourth
fourth year. Oh my
year.
gosh,
That's it.
getting old.
Are they musical
you're
as
getting
well as
better.
dramatic, comedic, musical as well in those workshops?
That's a future endeavor, absolutely. We've done, usually our sessions are 6 weeks, where we start doing theater games, getting them to trust one another, and we start doing monologues, scenes, improvisation, using their ability to be imaginative, to bring their side of what they see on the page if we're doing a play. And at the end of our 6 weeks, we do a 7th week, and we let them do a showcase of what they've learned and what they've done in these 6 weeks. Well, and then we also have a little pizza party, a little food. We have, feed the mind. And we've performed in other venues, from libraries to local bookstores, where they get a chance to even not perform just for their parents and grandma and grandpa and aunts and uncles. They get to perform for people that don't know them, that they don't know who's in the audience. And they've done wonderful things. We've done holidays. We've performed in other local, taking them, because all of a sudden they come back each time, and they build. And one of the students that we've had I guess he must have been, now it's 4 years, he had to be like in 4th grade, and now he's a young adult, and he's grown so much, and to see that growth is
And
just
that progress.
Oh, it's phenomenal.
Would you say that it is a good forum for kids if they, even if they aren't planning on a career in the theater, that it definitely improves their self-confidence, their ability to interact and communicate with people,
Absolutely.
and maybe even their academic performances in school?
It builds such self-confidence. As an educator, because I do work in the schools, it's wonderful seeing what I do in the school and even with our theater company. Children that you would never suspect what funny bones they have because they're very reserved.
Yeah.
All of a sudden they come into the group and you see them and you're like, oh, well, I don't know. I have to find out about this one. And halfway between the workshop, something clicks. I grabbed them in either it was a comedy venue, a dramatical venue, or something that was so spontaneous, and I found what their niche is, and they blossom. And it builds confidence, self-confidence. It builds creativity.
Maybe watch a different aspect of their personality
Oh
come
my
out.
God! Because we all have different aspects of our personality, and some people you only see one side. And when you're an actor, you let people see every side of you, and you become vulnerable.
Yes.
They don't know, the audience might not know that side of you. The people that you're acting with maybe not know that's part of you.
Right.
And kids will, once they feel comfortable, will open up to that, and I'll see a different side of a child that I've never seen before.
They become vulnerable, but through the vulnerability, they get strength.
Absolutely.
And through losing themselves, they find themselves.
Absolutely.
And I think it's a much better venue, opposed to sports, for instance, because I think theater is, the ideal combination of combining the athletic, the physical, with the emotional, mental, and spiritual at the same time. And I don't think there's any better forum
No, it's
for that.
great.
And it's hard to
Also-
explain that. They have to do it, and then
That's right.
they see it.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah.
transforming.
In terms of skill development with children, it's wonderful because, as we'd mentioned before, children have no fear,
They have
which
none.
is great because fear is the death of taking risks.
Of course.
And if you don't take risks as an actor, you don't have anything.
No.
Absolutely.
Also, another thing today, children, because of the television sets, the computers, they don't have the imagination.
And they don't got
It's very difficult for them to really
Think critically
think
and analytically,
creatively,
yeah.
and just be free. Also, today's society, you can't send your child outside to play outside in the yard anymore. Everything is very structured.
Yes.
There's no place for our children to truly be free.
Yeah.
Theater frees them, and whether they're going to make a career of it or not, they have this ability to just express themselves. We all need something to do. We all have different gifts, and maybe this child has some, maybe they don't, but at least to be able to express
dream
themselves, to
on,
free
dream
them.
on,
It's a form of meditation or something for them, but they need to be able to be free and not, you have to do this, you have to do that.
It goes back to Shirley's thing about the art of living theater and Howard's about putting it in terms of our incorporating it in our mission statement is that you actually get to experience something where most forms of entertainment nowadays, it's very passive. You sit there and you watch it. And you don't do. If you're involved in the theater, you're actually making and doing and interacting with all these different people and learning about yourself and learning about others and getting to sort of play with that and try it out and see these different experiences.
Chris, I think I used a short phrase that was so good for the Barnes & Noble and for book review when I was first starting with the children's theater development. Expand your horizons. Nothing does it better.
That's
and
true.
I'll allude to what you can talk about with grown-ups.
Well, yeah, just about in terms of skill development with children, as well as skill development with adults. We had taught a class for Toro, where we're the theater in residence, the law school, a class that we call courtroom drama, where we basically worked with acting skills and developing those in the law students.
By the
who, obviously you can see the usefulness in that. Even if you're not a litigator, you're always in any profession, not just law, presenting yourself, selling yourself.
Sales position, sure.
Absolutely. And that's something we're looking to expand into more as the theater in residence at Toro.
Yep.
Also, they had the moot court, and a
Yes,
lot of our
that's right.
actors participated in the
That's
moot
an
court.
ADA. Yeah.
And we were given a sheet of paper, and we instantly had to develop a character. And it was really very good.
And you watch
We've
these
done that over
attorneys
3 years now.
blossom too. They come in very wooden and somewhat reserved, and as they
They
move
went
through
out.
it, they
Develop.
expand, and it's
They
fun
went
to
out
watch
to
them.
national competition and
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun. It was very, very creative, and that's the new playwrights. It's just
Oh, it's
fun.
marvelous.
They
Very
won second
professional.
place?
what?
They won second place?
Second place.
Good.
Do you have original musicals planned as well as the original plays?
That we do.
Howard just won a grant, actually. for
That's right. We
his
actually got
production
a
that we're
grant
gonna be doing.
specifically to the development of a new musical called "Married in the Suburbs."
Okay.
And we would like, and we're looking forward to developing that. Also, that will be this year in 2001.
That's a commitment.
Wonderful.
So, but for the all the new play development, we're opening the submissions to plays, musicals, one-acts, and full-length plays. So we're
Wonderful. So the gamut is open.
Oh,
Yes,
very
exactly.
open.
Have you contemplated anything involving improvisation groups
Oh.
or cabarets,
oh,
stand-up
oh,
comedy,
goodness.
anything of that nature?
Goodness, it's so exciting because we're working on that right last night. The snowstorm stopped suddenly, but that's all right.
Yeah, I mean, we have done cabaret performances for the Huntington Chamber of Commerce for.
Oh, yes.
And we, in fact,
That's how we met.
Originally,
I played Shirley.
You played Shirley.
I joined this unit.
Howard does a good Shirley, too. He's got a great Shirley voice.
An audition with Howard.
yes, oh, she went for an audition.
And he played the piano, and Shirley had to do this benefit for the Chamber of Commerce, and got talking and and the next thing you know, here he is with his talent, and he put the show together
Oh, it was
for
a
us.
great
It was
show.
wonderful.
Kathy
Our
wrote the
community.
At the Crest Hollow. Yeah.
But no, it
Oh,
was Shirley.
oh.
She possessed my body.
it was a joyful meeting at the
Great.
beginning. Yes.
Yeah.
But that's how this family has grown.
That's right.
I mean,
Oh,
everybody
it's
just sort of
wonderful.
pulls somebody else along.
You said it right before.
And you find
really.
somebody, like we Shirley found this lovely man in the hall, or somebody will come into the bookstore and say, you know, gee, I'd love to get involved. You know, I could do this, I could do that. We take their card or their
So
information,
it's
and we
so
just all
wonderful
sort
to
of build
have.
on this, and we all sort of bring people in, and that's how we've developed, and that's how we grow, and
Can you
that's what makes it
imagine?
such a family. It's
Can you imagine what a street bum I'd be if I didn't have a home? Can you imagine? Come on home. Come on. But I'll tell you something, there is nothing better in life than being fruitfully, and I mean fruitfully because it's coming from your soul,
That's
your
what-
spirit. And you know that.
Absolutely.
You understand that.
Yes, absolutely.
So I really feel that we are blessed.
We are.
Never feel afraid if Shirley just says, show up here, don't worry, ask for this part, don't be afraid. Because that's how half of these people who met me. She told me to come here.
Yeah.
I wanted to try out for something, and she said to meet you. So Shirley knows a way to rope in people.
Well, it's the fear, basically, that keeps a lot of potential talents from blossoming. And the best thing that any of us as directors or actors can provide is a forum where someone feels safe to express themselves and to gain the confidence to be able to do that. And it definitely looks as though HVTC is one of the forums for that to happen.
Phone number, by the way? Or is that you know,
It's on the banner as well
if
as
I
the
don't do
credits.
well, you'd be surprised what they do to me in the closet. And I come out. And I come out.
Okay. Another episode.
Great.
And
Thank you, Chris.
Again, once
God bless
again,
you.
time is running out. I'd like to thank our wonderful panel here,
Thanks so
Howard
much.
Beckerman,
Thanks, Chris.
David Garner, Kathy
you, Chris.
Bowles, Teresa Bowles,
Thank
Mike
you.
Romanelli,
Thank you.
and Gail Levy.
Chris.
It was wonderful having you. And a parting thought that we can leave you with is that we've talked about all creative personnel in the theater, but I'd like to just take a moment to address the audience, who probably is the most valuable part of any creative project, because you provide us all with the energy and the inspiration to do what it is that we do, and to, if we're birds, not only are we able to fly, but you make us soar, and our hats off to you for that. I'm Christopher Del Gaudio, and this is Talking About. We thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.